Marcus Grant had always believed in simple things: hard work, loyalty, and providing for his family. On the morning of his 40th birthday, he brewed his coffee the way he always did, 2 sugars, no cream, then stepped outside in the cold drizzle to check the mailbox. Among the usual credit card offers and grocery coupons was a thick envelope stamped "Urgent." He opened it casually. After all, he was up to date on everything: mortgage, insurance, the works. That's why the words hit him like a punch to the gut. Final notice of eviction. At first, Marcus thought it was a mistake. Maybe a neighbor's mail got delivered to him by accident. But then he saw his name, his address, and the balance due: 0. Wait, what? He rushed inside, his hands trembling, and tore through his files. The payments, they had been going out from his account every month. So where had they gone? The truth unraveled fast and brutally. Unknown to Marcus, Elise, his wife of 12 years, had secretly refinanced the house 6 months earlier, forging his signature, rerouting the funds to a private account, and defaulting on payments while continuing to live under the same roof. The equity they had built together? Gone. Every penny. And so was Elise. She had disappeared overnight, taking their 9-year-old daughter Lily with her. No note, no explanation, no goodbye. Marcus's world crumbled, not in fire or fury, but in quiet horror, one paper cut at a time. At first, he called Elise's phone, straight to voicemail. Then her friends. No one had heard from her in days. Her social media profiles had been wiped. Every trace of her vanished like a ghost in the fog. And then came the worst realization of all. He didn't just lose a house or money. He had lost his daughter. Lily, his sunshine, his bedtime storyteller, his reason for waking up each morning, was gone, taken like a briefcase in the night. As Marcus sat on the kitchen floor, surrounded by legal documents and unanswered questions, he heard the faint echo of laughter from an old voicemail. Lily giggling over a birthday cake Elise had once baked for him. The memory hit him like glass. What kind of mother could weaponize a child for revenge? What kind of woman could orchestrate such betrayal and disappear without remorse? That morning, Marcus turned from a man into something else. Not broken, not yet, but cracked deeply, that something dark began to stir. Not hatred, not vengeance, purpose. He would find Elise, and this time she wouldn't see it coming. Marcus barely slept that night. The coffee that usually brought him calm now trembled in his hand. The eviction letter was still on the counter, glaring at him like a scarlet accusation. But what haunted him more wasn't losing the house. It was the silence from Lily's room. Her bed still held the slight indent from the night before Elise vanished. Her stuffed bear, Milton, sat propped against the pillow, as if waiting. Marcus couldn't wait any longer. He turned the kitchen table into a war room. Laptops, printouts, bank statements, and every scrap of legal correspondence he could find sprawled across the surface like pieces of a shattered life. For hours, he cross-referenced email threads, reviewed past mortgage payments, and called the bank. That's when he saw it. Months ago, a refinancing request had been approved with his forged signature. Elise had used his social security number, his scanned ID, everything. And not just once. She had rerouted automatic payments from their joint account into a private one under a different name. She even changed the mailing address with the bank without him ever noticing. The betrayal was precise, premeditated. It wasn't a mistake. It was a strategy. But the final blow came when Marcus logged into the family's shared cloud account. Buried in a folder labeled Lily's Art Projects was a PDF, Elise's petition for full custody. The document was full of lies. Claims that Marcus had been emotionally abusive, that Lily was afraid of him, that Elise had fled to protect their daughter. Every line was a knife. The courts had accepted it. Without a formal rebuttal from Marcus, who hadn't even known about the filing, the ruling went uncontested. Elise had full legal custody. It all made sense now. Why his texts to Lily suddenly stopped being read. Why the school wouldn't return his calls. Why Elise disappeared so confidently. She had the law on her side, or rather, a version of the law crafted by her lies. Marcus's rage began to curdle into something colder. He wasn't just angry at Elise. He was angry at the system that rubber-stamped her deception, at the friends who'd heard whispers and said nothing, at himself for trusting too much and questioning too little. He tried calling her again and again, but it went straight to voicemail. Lily's old phone line was disconnected. Even Elise's family, the ones who used to praise Marcus as the rock of the household, suddenly claimed they didn't know where she'd gone. He called lawyers. 5 of them turned him down. "It's a losing case," one said bluntly. "The burden of proof is on you." Another asked for a 12,000 retainer. He didn't even have 1,200. His world was unraveling, and no one seemed to care. Then a message popped up on his phone. Unknown number. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Lily is fine. Move on." It didn't say who it was from. It didn't need to. Marcus stared at the screen until his eyes blurred. Elise hadn't just stolen from him. She had erased him from Lily's life and left a chilling warning to stay gone. But that message did the opposite of what it intended. Marcus stood up, walked to Lily's room, and sat on the edge of her bed. He looked at Milton the bear, his stitched smile now a mockery of comfort. His hands curled into fists. He wasn't going to move on. He wasn't going to disappear. If Elise thought she could script his silence, she was about to meet a very different version of the man she once married. The day after Marcus received that anonymous message telling him to move on, he sat alone at the table, numb. The rage was still there, coiled tightly beneath his skin, but without direction, it festered. That's when Maya walked into the kitchen with her tablet pressed to her chest and a look he'd never seen before. Not fear, not pity, focus. Maya had been staying with Marcus for 2 months, ever since her mom, Marcus's sister, moved abroad for a job. She was quiet, smart, and spent most of her time in front of a screen. At 16, she was already taking dual enrollment classes at the community college, specializing in computer science and cybersecurity. "Uncle Marcus," she said, her voice clear, "I think I can help." He blinked. "Help with what?" "I've been watching," she continued, pulling out a chair beside him. "Elise made this look like a clean getaway, but it's not. I've been digging into some things, and I think I found something." Marcus frowned. "Maya, I don't want you getting involved in this mess." "Too late," she interrupted. "I already am." She opened her tablet and swiped through a series of folders, neatly organized and color-coded. "I started with email metadata," she explained. "Elise forwarded herself files from your joint accounts, including digital copies of your signature. From what I can tell, she used Adobe Sign to create a fake authorization for refinancing." Marcus stared at the screen. "How do you know all this?" She hesitated. "I accessed the metadata from the bank portal and her email server. "You hacked her?" he asked, a mix of awe and alarm. "She used the same password for her Hulu, her old Gmail, and her work email," Maya said, shrugging. "It wasn't hard." Marcus opened his mouth to scold her, but stopped. Elise had forged his name, stolen their daughter, and rewritten their lives. If Maya was breaking the rules, it was only because Elise had already broken every boundary first. "And there's more," Maya added, her voice low. "I found audio memos from Elise to her attorney." She hit play. Through the tiny speakers, Elise's voice rang out. "He's clueless. I told him the refinancing was just a routine thing. He signed a birthday card for Lily, and I copied the signature. The notary stamp? Please, it's just Photoshop. Honestly, I didn't think it would be this easy." Marcus clenched his fists. "There's another one," Maya said. "She brags about getting the judge to expedite the custody paperwork by claiming you were emotionally unstable. She even jokes about you crying when Lily was born." Marcus looked away. That moment, holding his newborn daughter for the first time, was sacred. The fact Elise twisted it into a joke made him sick. "I've already saved all the files," Maya said, "encrypted backups, and I've started compiling a formal case report. If we send this to the right attorney or reporter, Elise is done." He stared at her. This teenage girl had done in 48 hours what 5 attorneys refused to even attempt. "Maya," he said softly, "are you sure about this? This could get serious." She looked him dead in the eyes. "She lied to you. She stole from you. She erased you from Lily's life. If no one's going to hold her accountable, I will." It was in that moment Marcus realized something deeper. Maya wasn't just doing this for him. She was doing it for herself. For every smart girl who'd ever watched someone get trampled by arrogance and lies and been told to stay quiet. Together, they got to work. Marcus reviewed every legal document Elise had filed. Maya dug deeper into financial records, matching IP addresses to fraudulent account activity. She discovered that Elise had created a dummy LLC to move the stolen mortgage money around, registered under a fake name, but with a recovery email that traced directly back to her personal laptop. When Maya unearthed voice memos between Elise and her boyfriend bragging about leaving Marcus in the dust, Marcus didn't even react. He had no tears left, only a cold, focused fire. By the end of the week, Maya had compiled a 60-page dossier, timestamps, transaction histories, login trails, and audio recordings, all pointing to one conclusion. Elise had orchestrated a digital heist and legal ambush against Marcus and expected to walk away clean. But not anymore. "Maya," Marcus said one night as they reviewed the final report, "what you've done, it's more than I could have ever imagined. But I need you to promise something." Maya didn't sleep the night they finished the dossier. While Marcus finally allowed himself a moment of exhausted relief, Maya stayed up, clicking away at her keyboard in the glow of the garage lights, her eyes sharp, movements surgical. She wasn't done. The evidence was airtight, but Maya wanted to make sure Elise and Damien didn't just pay for what they did. She wanted them humiliated. By morning, Marcus found her sitting cross-legged on the floor, her laptop perched on a milk crate, a tangled mess of wires snaking from it into an external drive and a dummy smartphone. She looked up at him, a flicker of mischief in her eyes. "I'm building her a trap," she said simply. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What kind of trap?" She closed her laptop and stood. "A digital mirror. I'm going to make Elise think she's still in control, while we're the ones pulling the strings." Maya had cloned Elise's email account perfectly. Every folder, every draft, even the signature block with the smug VP Real Estate Solutions. With metadata replication, it was indistinguishable from the real thing. She routed it through a VPN in Brazil to make the origin look like Elise herself had logged in from a vacation property. Then, using old drafts Elise had left in the cloud, Maya crafted a message to Damien. Closing scheduled. Wire transfer needs to happen in the next 48 hours. Use the same Cayman path. I'll bring the keys. The bait was laid. For days, nothing happened. Maya continued schoolwork like nothing was going on. Marcus started eating again, sleeping in short stretches. They both avoided talking about what came next. Until Thursday morning. Damien replied. "We're in. Elise is getting her hair done in Miami. I'll book the suite." Maya turned to Marcus. It worked. The plan unfolded fast. She forwarded the thread to the FBI Cyber Division using the contact her mom had once worked with during a minor ID theft case. Then, posing as Elise, Maya scheduled a private showing for a penthouse in Boca Raton, a real listing, one Maya found online that matched Elise's style exactly. She created a dummy transaction, routed through one of Damien's shell companies. By the time he thought he was about to launder his final payday through an escrow service, Maya had already fed the details to federal authorities. The FBI didn't hesitate. Marcus didn't know the exact details of the sting, but he didn't have to. It was all over the news the next day. Florida couple arrested in $800,000 fraud scheme. Ex-wife of victim implicated in mortgage theft. There were pictures. Damien being led away in handcuffs, Elise wearing oversized sunglasses and a hoodie, head bowed low. And then came the headline that made Marcus drop his coffee mug. Teen hacker outsmarts con artists, turns digital evidence over to FBI. They didn't name Maya, thanks to her age, but the story hinted at a gifted young relative who helped uncover the operation, and Marcus knew instantly. Maya had leaked it. Why? He asked her that evening when the media storm had quieted. She didn't look away. Because people need to know. What she did to you wasn't just cruel, it was criminal, and no one was going to believe it until someone forced them to. Marcus exhaled. "You're not afraid of what they'll do next?" "Elise is booked," Maya replied calmly. "She's out on bail, but she's being watched. Her assets are frozen. Damien's already been indicted. They won't touch us now." Marcus was quiet a long time before he said, "You didn't just fix this. You rewrote the ending." Maya shrugged. "I just made sure the truth had a louder microphone." But even as the dust settled, Marcus couldn't shake the weight in his chest. Elise's betrayal had nearly broken him, but it was Maya's transformation that haunted him now. She wasn't just a kid anymore. She had become something else, something powerful, calculated, and scarily efficient. At dinner that night, she casually asked if she could build a private server for her own projects. "I think I want to study digital forensics," she said, spearing a carrot with her fork. Marcus smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just promise me one thing," he said. "Yeah." "Don't let justice turn into revenge." Maya paused, then nodded. "I won't. But sometimes the only way to be heard is to speak louder than the liar." And in that moment, Marcus saw it clearly. Maya wasn't just fighting Elise or Damien. She was fighting for every quiet, overlooked victim who... The courtroom felt colder than Marcus expected. He sat in the front row, a bundle of nerves barely held together by the stiff collar of his suit. To his left, Lily clutched his hand tightly, her small fingers trembling. And to his right, Maya, steady, calm, focused. She wore her school blazer, hair tied neatly, but her eyes, those sharp, calculating eyes, held none of a child's hesitation. She was ready. Across the room sat Elise, once so poised and polished, now gaunt and pale. Her orange jumpsuit, a far cry from the tailored blazers she used to flaunt at real estate galas. Her lawyer whispered frantically in her ear, but Elise kept glancing at Marcus. Not with remorse, never remorse, but something else, a flicker of disbelief that this day had come. The bailiff called the next witness, Maya Bennett. Maya stood, walked to the stand with measured steps, and swore in. Her voice rang clear through the chamber as she answered the prosecutor's questions, laying out her timeline with surgical precision. The email logs, the fake Cayman account, the backtraced shell companies, and the surveillance data. She even explained how she had mirrored Elisa's cloud data, using nothing more than a misconfigured security token on an old device. Marcus watched the jury lean in. They weren't just listening, they were riveted. Elisa's attorney objected several times, citing age, competency, and method, but every objection was overruled. Maya's evidence was admissible, verified, and undeniable. Then came the moment that broke Marcus. The prosecutor asked Maya why she had done it, why she had spent months chasing down the woman who had stolen from them. Maya paused, eyes flickering briefly toward Elise, then settled on Marcus and Lily. "Because someone had to protect my family," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Because when the people who are supposed to love you become the ones who hurt you, someone has to be brave enough to say no more." A hush fell over the room. Even Elise blinked, faltering for the first time. The judge leaned forward, eyes locked on Maya. "Miss Bennett, you're only 15, is that right?" "Yes, Your Honor." "You realize what you did could have put you in danger?" "Yes, but I knew what I was doing." The judge nodded slowly, then turned to address the courtroom. "Let the record reflect that this young woman's actions, while unconventional, were instrumental in bringing to light one of the most sophisticated fraud cases this court has seen in recent years. Her courage, intellect, and moral clarity are commendable and rare." The gavel came down hard. Elise was sentenced to 8 years for wire fraud, identity theft, and child endangerment. She didn't speak a word as she was led away. Damien had already taken a plea deal thanks to Maya's digital trap, but Elise, proud to the end, had refused. And now she was gone. Marcus sat frozen. Even after the sentencing, he couldn't move. It wasn't until Lily tugged on his sleeve that he finally stood and embraced Maya. Tightly. Not as a father figure, not even as a man broken and rebuilt, but as someone who had been saved. "You didn't just save me," he whispered into her hair. "You gave Lily her father back." Maya hugged him back, silent tears finally slipping down her cheek. Not from relief, but because it was finally over. The next morning, headlines blared the news. "Teen girl takes down white-collar crime ring." 15-year-old cyber prodigy testifies in landmark fraud trial. Betrayed dad and brave daughter reclaim justice. Marcus's phone lit up with dozens of messages. His boss offered his old job back. His parents, once distant, called in tears. Even strangers reached out. Men and women who had been duped, silenced, abandoned, thanking him for standing up, for raising a daughter like Maya. But Maya wasn't interested in the attention. She didn't care for interviews or TV specials. She declined every podcast invitation and deleted every message from... The storm had passed. In the weeks that followed the trial, peace settled slowly into Marcus's home. The broken windows were replaced. The house, once echoing with fear and whispered plans, now filled with the warm sounds of Lily's laughter and the hum of Maya's music drifting from her room. The world had turned again, and this time, not in chaos, but in quiet strength. Marcus often found himself reflecting on how far they had come. From the moment Elise emptied the college fund to the chilling threats from Damien, life had tried to pull them apart. But it didn't succeed. Not because Marcus had all the answers, but because Maya, his brilliant, composed daughter, stepped up when the world failed them. She didn't just fight back. She protected, strategized, and healed. And through her actions, she taught Marcus something no adult had ever shown him: that strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, focused, determined, and deeply rooted in love. One evening, while they were washing dishes, Maya asked him, "Do you ever wish it hadn't happened?" He paused. The question lingered. "Sometimes," he admitted. "But then I look at you and your sister, and I realize it showed me who we really are and who we're never going to be." Maya nodded, drying a glass. "I don't want revenge anymore, Dad." "I know," he said, placing a hand on her shoulder. "That's why you won." That night, Marcus wrote something in his journal, a lesson he hoped Lily would one day read. "Sometimes, people we trust will shatter us, but the ones who quietly rebuild, those are the real heroes. Forgiveness is a gift. Justice is earned. But dignity is reclaimed when we rise, not to destroy, but to restore what was nearly lost." Elise's absence no longer haunted them. Damien's threats faded into irrelevance. And while the scars remained, they were no longer wounds, just reminders of battles survived. Maya returned to school. Lily planted a tree in the backyard. Marcus started volunteering at a local father-daughter mentorship program. And for the first time in years, their home felt like home. We want to hear from you. Have you ever had to rebuild your life after betrayal? What does real strength mean to you? Leave a comment below, like this video if it moved you, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of truth, resilience, and redemption.